Hi guys, my name is Karthik and I am from executive and welcome to my all new course in Executive Automation on generative AI in software testing, especially automation testing. And this is the first of its kind course in generative AI where we are going to be talking about using generative AI as an application for software testing for both manual as well as automated testing. And this is going to be the first video where we are going to be talking about how generative AI is going to be leveraging the power in the software testing field. And this video is going to be an introduction to the course, and we will understand how we can leverage the power of Gen AI in software automation testing. So, why generative AI in software testing, and what are the roles of artificial intelligence in software testing, and how will this AI or generative AI can help me help me understand how I can perform the software automation or manual testing in a better way. Well, generative AI or Gen AI refers to a class of artificial intelligence model designed to generate new original contents or data based on the input it receives. It can create text, image, music, and even code, which makes it more powerful across various fields. And the one field which we are more interested is going to be the manual testing and automation testing field. But how will this Gen AI can help me in software testing? That is what we are more interested in. And how will this Gen AI generates manual test cases and automated test code if I'm going to be looking at? Well, in order for you to understand this entire operation of generative AI, first of all, we need to understand that generative AI by itself is not something out of the box going to generate things for you, because you need to understand first how generative AI works by itself. As you can see over here, generative AI has got three most important models as of today. The first one is going to be the large language models or LLMs, and then there is going to be a GANs or GANs, which is going to be a generative adversarial networks, and then VAEs, or otherwise called as the variational autoencoder. So these are the three different models available under generative AI umbrella. So these are the models or applications which are used within generative AI. And the large language models are the one that we always hear for past couple of years right now. The introduction of the chat GPT was the first thing which we know or we encountered to use the large language models, and we all wondered how everything is happening magically. So you can see that the large language models actually has got three most important purpose. It has got text generation, code generation, and also supports chatbots. So you can see that as it has the name code generation, it does all the things that you're probably looking for. But before I get into large language models more deeper, I also wanted to touch base with the GANs and the VAEs. And you can see that the generative adversarial networks has got an option of image generation, and also performs the deepfakes verification, and also it performs art creation or image creation and video creation. So it does all those operations for you over here, and these are going to generate some new images that you're looking for. Most of the use cases that you can see currently is the DAL-E is going to be mostly using the GANs of the generative AI. And then VAEs, or otherwise called as the variational autoencoders, will also be generating new data, but it also learns how to compress those data, because you know that the GANs are going to be generating new images, but what if the images and the video size is too heavy? If you want to compress those images, then you need to have the data compression and synthetic data generation based on that. And that's all going to be taken care by using this model, the VAEs model. So all these are included as a part of this generative AI. And the one that we are going to be mostly focusing on is going to be the large language models. So what is this large language model? As it names, it is going to be a very, very large language model, which is going to be helpful for generating one of the most important thing that we are going to be looking for is going to be the software codes, because it does very good on that. It can understand and generate software code across various programming languages. It's not restricted to just one single programming language like C# or Java or Python. It also generates with Ruby, R, Golang or any other programming language that you name it, it just works fine. It in fact work with more human languages as well, like Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Marathi, Kannada, something like that. So it all works quite fine with the large language model. And this is happening because large language model is an application of the generative AI, as you know already. And large language model encompasses quite a lot of different operation. It does the data extraction from various sources. It gets all the input, uses the neural network to store all the information, and it knows how to tokenize those value, store across it like a human brain, and then it can retrieve the value that you're looking for based on the number of token you already have and number of token it can accept. So I'm talking about tokens and stuff in this particular lecture, but I'm really not going to go into deep about the tokens and how the tokens are going to be categorized in the neural networks and stuff. But yes, large language model is the one which is responsible for you to generate the code that you are looking for. Well, as that said, there are many popular large language models available. And some of the most popular large language models today available in the market is the GPT-4 or 4.0 Turbo. We already know that, which is from OpenAI. And then we also have got Llama from Meta, or otherwise called as Facebook. So they have got an open source version of the large language model, which means you can download the large language model within your own machine, and then you can even run that offline if you wanted to. And also there is something called as Gemini, which is from Google. And this large language model is also very popular because it does quite a lot of operation, pretty close to what GPT and Llama does. And there is another very popular large language model, which is the Claude 3.5 Sonnet, because this is from Anthropic, and it is very, very good because it has got quite a lot of different operation, very unique compared to rest of these large language models, as you can see over here, because it also has got something called as artifact, which generates things for you like a separate file which you can easily view what it that you're looking for. And similarly, there is this Mistral from Mistral AI. It's also a very popular large language model, and every single large language model that you are seeing over here is all available in some of the popular cloud platforms like Azure, Google, and even in Oracle's AI if you wanted to. So all these language models can be obtained from there, and you can just start using it within your organization or within your own personal hobby project, and then you can leverage the power of large language model in testing as well as in application development. Well, as that said, you might know all this information that I'm really talking about. You may ask, like, Karthik, what's really point? I mean, we all know about these things. What is exactly that you are trying to talk about in this particular course? Well, we can see that there are many different applications of software testing within Gen AI. And that's what we are really going to talk about. There are popular applications of Gen AI in software testing as well. For instance, if you're going to be very focused on the manual testing, then Gen AI can help you generate manual test cases automatically. It also does data mapping for you. What does that really mean is that it tells you that whether this data can really maps to that particular attribute of your application's data that you're looking for. It does that. And similarly, you can also use this Gen AI for performing automated software testing and code generations. What does that really mean is that while you try writing any code in Selenium or Playwright or any other tool, AI will do the code suggestion, and sometimes it also create a big gigantic code for you that you can just use it to write the code on that. And similarly, it also does the AI code correction and code coverage, which means it will help you correct the code while you try to write, and also it ensures that the code coverage happens based on the context of the entire application that you are trying to test. Because you can also these days pass the entire source code of your application as a context to the generative AI tools, for instance, GitHub Copilot or Tab9, and then you can use them to be using as a context for writing the automated software testing tool. And you can also use this Gen AI to generate test data, automated bug tracking, which can also be helpful if you're going to have a duplicate bug already being raised on that similar context. So those things can even happen with these generative AI tool. And one of the most popular example of that is the Bugsura from Mulia software. And that already has this automated bug tracking in it. So these are very, very popular. And there are few more use cases that you can just think of with this generative AI in automation testing and manual testing is that if you have got a big Swagger documentation with all the API definitions, and you wanted to write an API testing with Postman or REST, then generative AI can do it for you automatically. What does it really mean is that just copy paste that in any of these large language models. It will give you the suggestion for what exactly that you are trying to test, and it will give you the information that you're looking for. These are going to be very, very handy because you just have to have a bit of a walkthrough on the code which is being generated, or maybe just do a bit of an inspection whether the code that you're looking for is exactly what is there. All the babysitting work that you have been doing all these days will be gone because it's all going to be taken care by this Gen AI. And also, there is another use case that if you got a fragile UI application, which happens most of the time while we do a UI application testing, then all you have to do is you just have to pass the code with a page object model or whatever to the Gen AI and ensure that the locators that you have got is matching with the page that you have got. You can just pass the source of the page. Ensure that the locators are always matching. If it's returning you the true value, then you can just ensure that the test just works fine. And if there is a failure happens, it is not because of the application's UI change, rather it is a logic change. So you can do that as well. It is so good with this particular option. But you need an API options, like you need to have an API of the Gen AI like ChatGPT or maybe Claude, something like that, and then you can perform those operation. But at least, yeah, you can do those things. So this is another use case. And third use case is very, very popular, and I have seen that many people are really using it, is generating test data for complex object in more realistic fashion. Because we have seen many times while you wanted to generate or probably pass in the data for the application, you may have seen that you need to ensure that the test data is not duplicated and also more realistic, and also you don't really babysittingly working on the same test data entry every single time. This Gen AI can help you do that for you, and it reduces quite a lot of time. And you can see that all these use cases that we have seen so far is just trying us to help to make our life more easier to perform all the testing as well as the babysitting work away from us. And that is the more powerful thing about this generative AI. And that's exactly what we are going to be covering in this entire course, talking each and every use cases in more enterprise grade realistic fashion, and we'll see how we can get through this course in a more meaningful way to achieve all the operation using generative AI, both offline and online. So let's learn this entire course and understand how things work in the world of generative AI. I'm so excited with this course. Thank you so much for watching this video. Catch you starting our first section of this course.